In the great expanse of our existence, the soul's path is not seen as a singular event. It is a long journey of growth. Ancient wisdom tells us that each spirit experiences many seasons, growing wiser with each one based on its actions, intentions, and the light of its awareness. But what unfolds when a spirit has walked almost the entire path? What if you are standing in the final season of your human experience, nearing a state of ultimate clarity and freedom from the great cycle of confusion and struggle? While the deeper currents of the soul's journey often go unnoticed, there are quiet yet powerful signals. These are signs that a spirit is nearing the end of its long cycle. These are not loud spectacles, but subtle shifts from within. They are gentle awakenings that point to a soul that no longer holds tightly to the world's distractions, the self-stories, or fleeting wants. In our time together, we will explore 10 profound signals drawn from a place of deep knowing that suggest you are in a final, transformative chapter of this existence. If you feel the echo of even a few of these in your heart, it could be a sign your spirit is preparing for a great liberation. Let us begin this inward journey with the very first signal of a soul that has arrived at its final season. 1. A quiet release from material desire. A truly powerful signal that you are in a final chapter is a gentle but firm turning away from the endless chase for things. While many are swept up in the current of gaining more wealth, more possessions, more status, a spirit nearing the completion of its journey feels a natural stillness in the face of these things. This is not something you force. It is an effortless shift. The activities that once fed the need for outward approval simply lose their flavor. You may observe that acquiring new things or seeking external praise no longer brings you a feeling of fullness. Instead of being pulled toward more, you find yourself drawn to less, to simplicity, to depth, and to the quiet of your own heart. Your focus moves from having things to simply being present. This is not a lack of drive. It is a sign of deep maturity. From a space of true awareness, we understand that attachment to things is like trying to carry a river in your arms. True freedom is not found in holding on, but in letting the water flow through your hands. When your spirit begins to lose interest in these outer shells, it is a signal that you have absorbed the lessons of want and of holding on. This change in your inner world also reshapes the company you keep. You are less drawn to those who display their wealth or titles, and more to those with a quiet truth in their eyes. In your conversations, you find yourself drawn to life's deeper questions over casual talk. You begin to know, in your bones, that nothing from the outside can ever truly make you whole. Lasting contentment arises from self-knowledge, from compassion, and from this present moment. It is not that you reject money or possessions. You simply no longer believe they are the source of your peace or your identity. And this quiet, inner transformation is a monumental step toward genuine freedom. 2. A strong magnetic pull to solitude. As a spirit draws close to its final stage, a profound change takes place, a deepening desire for solitude. This is not simply wanting to be alone for a short while. It is a deep need from your core for quiet, for open space, and for the stillness within. Those who are in this last season often feel most connected to life when they are by themselves. Not because of a dislike for others, but because they have started to discover the immense richness of their own inner world. You may feel drained after social events, even among good people. Simple chatter may feel like a disruption. The noise of the world may feel like an intrusion. Your soul is no longer energized by outside sound. It is nourished by reflection, by quiet contemplation, by connection with the natural world. Ancient wisdom teaches that silence is never empty. It is where all the answers reside. The more a spirit awakens, the more it seeks this quiet space. Because only in stillness can you see the truth of things, without the distortion of the world's opinions and demands. This pull towards being alone is also connected to the softening of the ego. In earlier stages of the journey, we look for our reflection in the eyes of others. We seek attention and relationships to tell us who we are. But when a soul is preparing to return to its source, It begins to understand that no outside mirror can show its true face. Only in solitude can the old stories fall away, allowing your true nature to shine through. You might find you spend more time in nature, feeling a profound connection to a tree, a river, a quiet animal. You might yearn for hours with no talking, away from devices and constant chatter. Some might even draw back from long, held friendships or family habits. This is not from a place of anger, but from an undeniable need to guard their inner peace. This attraction to solitude is not a sign of loneliness. It is a sign of alignment. It is one of the most powerful signals that your spirit is completing its long walk through the great cycle of becoming. 3. A profound sensitivity to life's energy. Another powerful and clear signal you might be in your final chapter is an intense sensitivity. This is not fragility. It is a sacred openness to the feelings, the energy, and the quiet stories of other beings. In past chapters, you may have learned to build walls, to be strong, to stand apart. But in this final phase, your soul starts to awaken to the invisible threads that connect all things. And from that awakening comes a deep resonance with life. You might find that your heart is more easily touched, not just by your own life's turns, but by the struggles of others, even those you do not know. A piece of music, a story of struggle, or an act of pure kindness can move something deep within you. This is more than just empathy. It is the awareness, at a soul level, that the line separating you from another is thinning. This kind of sensitivity is connected to the growth of great compassion. As the illusion of a separate self begins to weaken and your inner vision clears, your heart becomes a more open space. You no longer perceive people as merely separate actors driven by bad intentions. You begin to see the pain behind their actions, recognizing they are caught in the same labyrinth you once navigated. This can feel like a heavy weight at times, especially in chaotic spaces. This deep awareness may also apply to energy itself. You might feel a strong discomfort in places with tense vibrations or around individuals who carry a heavy internal storm. You notice the things left unsaid, the subtle shifts in a room's feeling. Large gatherings may feel like too much, and you may need to retreat simply to find your center again. Many who experience this in their final chapter are seen as highly sensitive, but this moves beyond a simple label. It is spiritual openness. Your soul is not just feeling the world, it is understanding it on a different level. It is purifying itself and serving in a quiet way. With this sensitivity comes an undeniable urge to offer relief. You might feel a pull toward healing work, acts of service, or simple, unspoken kindness. The pain of another is no longer just their issue. It becomes a deep call from life itself to love with more depth, and you feel that call in your very being. 4. A powerful calm in the middle of chaos. One of the most profound signals that you are in your final season is the rise of a deep, unshakable peace, even when the world around you is a storm. This calm is not based on your situation. It does not come from success, from perfect harmony in relationships, or from having enough money. It is a state of being that flows up from within you. It remains steady, no matter the weather outside. Most people feel a rising panic when life takes an unexpected turn. They become anxious when the future is unclear or feel hurt when betrayed. But if your soul is nearing its great release, you may start to observe that you are not so easily thrown off balance. You are able to respond instead of just reacting. You feel disappointment or sorrow without letting it become your entire world. You can still experience pain, but you do not suffer from it in the same way you once did. Why does this happen? Because you have begun to deeply understand the fluid nature of all things. This is a central teaching of the natural world. Everything comes and everything goes. When this is no longer just an idea but a felt reality, you develop a kind of spiritual resilience to life's storms. You stop fighting the flow of life. You stop tying your sense of self to a particular outcome. You see that challenges are teachers, not enemies. In your final life chapter, this peace becomes your home base. You can walk into difficult situations with clear eyes. You can hold space for pain without breaking. You start to view the world as a grand play, sometimes beautiful, sometimes difficult, but always in motion. And because you have likely navigated countless lifetimes of turbulence and challenge, your spirit is simply wary of being disturbed. It seeks only what is real, what is present, what is still. This does not mean you are without emotion. Quite the opposite. You feel everything, but you are not owned by your feelings. You understand the deeper truth. Attachment to how things should be is the source of struggle. Being present is the source of peace. Others may seek you out for comfort without quite knowing why. They sense your steady energy, and it offers them a place of rest. Your presence itself begins to bring calm to others. Not because you are trying, but because you are at peace. If you have observed this profound stillness in yourself, even in difficult times, it is more than just maturity. It could be the final awakening of your soul. 5. A feeling of observing the world from a different space. Have you often felt that you do not quite fit into the rhythm of the world? That you are more of an observer than a participant? This deep, internal feeling of being separate is one of the most poignant signals that your spirit is approaching its final destination. People in their last life chapter often feel like visitors here, even from a young age. While everyone else seemed to be chasing the same fleeting goals, you might have found yourself quietly asking, what is the true purpose of this? You may feel a distance from the world's common goals, a lack of interest in superficial drama, and a deep confusion about the harmful patterns that so many accept as ordinary. This feeling of being different is not a sign of being flawed. It is the wisdom of your soul making itself known. As a spirit evolves, it naturally begins to see through the grand illusion, the veil that keeps humanity distracted by surface level things, by the stories of the self, and by deep-seated suffering. Those who are waking up from this dream often feel a sense of being alone, not because there is something wrong with them, but because they are stirring in a world that is still largely dreaming. Others may not understand you. They might see you as too sensitive, too thoughtful, too quiet. They do not perceive the depth of wisdom behind your gaze or the ancient journey your soul has undertaken. You might attempt to conform, but you find it leaves you feeling empty and untrue. So, instead of trying to earn acceptance, you slowly learn to walk your own way, even when that path is solitary. You may not feel a strong connection to your family's history or cultural identity. While you hold love for them, it can feel as if your soul has outgrown the containers they live within. You look for truth in other places, in quiet study, in stillness, in nature. This experience is often painful because the human heart wants to belong, but your spirit is not here to fit in. It is here to grow beyond, and this requires a journey that few will recognize. Over time, this feeling of aloneness transforms into spiritual freedom. You stop needing to be validated. You stop making yourself smaller to fit where you don't belong. You begin to see your unique path as a sacred gift, a sign you are moving beyond the old cycles and into the final light of awareness. If you feel like a timeless spirit, wise beyond your years and a little out of step with this modern age, you are not adrift. You are finding your way home. 6. A natural release of the need to be someone. In the final stages of the soul's long pilgrimage, a powerful and deep shift begins to happen. The grip of the ego starts to loosen. Unlike earlier chapters, where the idea of directed your choices and your sense of self-worth, in your last life cycle, you begin to see this me for what it is, a temporary story. You stop feeling the urge to prove who you are, the importance of titles, what you look like, who is winning. It all begins to feel a bit transparent. It is not that you stop caring about doing things well, but your inner value is no longer tied to the reflection you see in other people's eyes. This effortless letting go of the ego is one of the most advanced signals of spiritual growth. Ancient wisdom teaches that the constructed self is the source of most struggle. It must always be fed by attention, by being right, and by comparing itself to others. But a soul that is nearing true freedom starts to see through this game. You may observe that praise does not make you feel bigger, and criticism does not make you feel smaller. Why? Because your sense of who you are is no longer built on the shifting sands of the outside world. It rests in awareness itself. You might still experience flashes of frustration or envy, but they move through you like the wind. You no longer attach your identity to them. They are just weather patterns in the vast sky of your being. You stop feeling the need to defend yourself. Instead, you find a quiet strength in humility. You start to listen with more intention and speak with less force. You have no need to be better than anyone. Instead, you feel a pull to understand and lift others with no personal gain in mind. This gentle release from the ego also changes how you view setbacks. Instead of personal failures, you see them as teachings or as pathways to deeper understanding. Your responses become calmer, more deliberate. You are no longer driven by reaction. You are guided by reflection. This inner calm is not from a book. It is earned through lifetimes of navigating the dramas of the self-centered world. In your final chapter, being true replaces trying to look good. You are no longer trying to impress or persuade. You become gentler. You smile from a deeper place. You forgive with more ease. And the most beautiful part is that this quiet power, free from the need for attention, becomes a source of calm for others. If you feel yourself no longer caring who receives the praise, who wins the debate, or who seems more important, you may be standing at the gateway to profound freedom, where the little self dissolves and your true self begins. 7. A deep sense of direction without a map. Another profound sign that your spirit is approaching its destination is the feeling of a deep inner purpose, even if you cannot describe it with words. This purpose doesn't come from ambition or from what the world tells you to be. It rises from within you like a quiet but steady current guiding your movements. You may not see where the river is going, but you trust its flow completely. You might feel you are here to contribute something essential. Not in the way of achieving fame or fortune, but in a more spiritual sense. A sense that you are here to contribute to healing, to consciousness, or to a great shift. Even if your daily life appears simple on the surface, you feel that your very existence has weight and meaning. You start to feel that every small act, every word spoken, every intention held, sends a ripple into the world. You understand that to live with integrity, with compassion, and with awareness is itself a powerful mission. Wisdom teaches that there is a path of truth for every soul. When you start to align with this path, your decisions are no longer about what you should do, but what feels deeply and undeniably right. You might suddenly be drawn to certain places or people without knowing why. You may take turns in your life that no one else understands, but you feel in your bones that they are important. This internal compass becomes incredibly strong in your final chapter. You may no longer feel a desperate need for a clear plan. You simply trust that your way is being shown to you, one step at a time. Even when you are walking through darkness, a quiet knowing inside you says, "Keep going." And you listen, because you are no longer guided by fear, but by a quiet faith in the unfolding of life. You begin to care less about personal achievement and more about your effect on the whole. Whether you are speaking with one person, tending to a plant, or sitting in stillness, you feel you are part of something much larger than your individual story. You may feel like a vessel, guided by a larger intelligence, and you learn to surrender to this flow, instead of trying to direct it. People in their final life cycles often live this out through humble service. Whether they are teaching, creating art, or simply radiating a quiet presence, their purpose becomes less about what they ever do and more about who they ever are. If you have ever felt this steady, quiet pull to live with profound meaning, without any need for external validation, your soul may be nearing the great ocean. 8. Clear intuition and an inner knowing. A very clear signal you are in your last chapter is the blossoming of your intuition into a true inner knowing. This is not about an occasional gut feeling. It is a consistent, deep trust in your own internal guidance that often stands beyond the reach of pure logic or what society tells you. In many earlier journeys, you likely leaned on outside sources, on experts, on rules, on the opinions of others, to find your way. But as your soul prepares for liberation, a profound change occurs. You start to recognize that the most trustworthy guide you will ever have speaks from within. This inner wisdom often arrives as a flash of clarity about a choice, a person, or a path forward. You may have moments where you simply know something is true before you have all the facts. This is your higher consciousness speaking to you, a direct line to the vast wisdom you've gathered across countless experiences. Ancient practices of stillness and inner observation are designed to awaken this intuitive sense. In your final life cycle, this becomes nearly second nature because the loud noise of the ego has faded. You become finely tuned to the subtle language of life, the signs, the patterns, the quiet whispers of your own soul. This sharpened intuition can also provide guidance in the form of warnings, gentle pushes, or moments of profound peace that confirm you are on the right path. You might find yourself naturally stepping away from people or situations that feel wrong, simply because your inner compass guides you elsewhere. On the other hand, you might feel an undeniable pull toward an experience or person that makes no logical sense, and trusting that pull leads you to exactly where you need to be. This increased sensitivity to the unseen world can sometimes feel intense, especially if you have spent a lifetime ignoring it. But it is a sacred faculty. It shows that your spirit is awakening to the universal field of intelligence that connects everything. If you find that your intuition has become your most reliable guide, and that your inner voice is stronger and clearer than ever before, it may be a sign that your soul is preparing to move beyond the cycle of learning into a state of pure being. 9. A vast compassion for all of life. A true hallmark of being in your last life cycle is the flowering of a limitless compassion, not just for those close to you, but for every living thing. This compassion is not something you decide on. It is something that flows out from you naturally and without condition. As you evolve toward your true nature, you start to see that all beings, every person, every animal, every plant, are deeply connected parts of one single consciousness. The wisest traditions teach that great compassion and loving awareness are the highest expressions of an awakened spirit. Souls nearing their great freedom embody these qualities without trying. You may find yourself feeling a deep wish to bring comfort to others, not from a sense of duty, but from a wellspring of authentic love. You find more patience for human imperfections, more understanding of honest mistakes, and a greater readiness to let go of old hurts. This compassion reaches even toward those who have caused pain, because you see behind their actions to the source of their own suffering and confusion. This shift can transform how you live each day. Simple acts of generosity, like helping a person in need or caring for a small creature, bring you a profound sense of purpose. You might also find yourself drawn to work that fosters peace, serves justice, or protects our living planet. But even if your life remains small and quiet, your heart has become a sacred space that holds a gentle kindness for all that exists. Such boundless compassion is a clear signal that your soul is nearing the end of its long journey through the cycles of struggle and becoming. You are preparing to move beyond self-interest and merge with universal love and truth. If you notice your heart opening wider with each passing day and your capacity to care for all beings growing stronger, you are walking the final, most beautiful part of your path to awakening. 10. A readiness to release and let go. The final signal that you are in your last life cycle is a profound sense of being ready to let go. This is not about letting go of just things or people, but of life's form itself. This feeling does not come from a place of sadness or defeat. It arises from a deep knowing that this life is a beautiful, temporary chapter, and that the spirit's ultimate destination is a freedom beyond the cycle of beginnings and endings. You may notice that your fear of dying begins to fade, replaced by a quiet curiosity about what lies beyond. The great unknown is no longer a source of terror, because you trust the intelligence of existence itself. You might find yourself thinking less about the past or the future, and more about just this moment. The need to cling to your body, to your story, and to your old experiences starts to dissolve. The deepest teachings tell us that the ultimate freedom is to be free from attachment, not only to what we have, but to who we think we are. When your soul is nearing its great awakening, you embody this teaching completely. You understand that clinging to life, to fear, to regret, or to desire is what prolongs the struggle. In its place, you practice acceptance, you practice surrender, and you practice faith. This signal can show up in quiet ways: a peaceful acceptance of your body as it changes with age, a gentle release of old resentments, or the ability to speak of life's end with a calm and open heart. You might feel a clear-headed desire to put your life in order, not from anxiety, but from a place of peace. This readiness is not about giving up. It is about graduating. It is the soul's quiet signal that it is saying, "I have learned what I came here to learn. I am ready for what is next." It is the final step before you cross the threshold into true liberation, a freedom from struggle, from confusion, and from illusion. If these words echo deeply in your being, it means your soul is on the cusp of completing a vast and ancient journey, and a new, timeless chapter is beginning. Recognizing these 10 profound signals in yourself is a powerful affirmation of your spirit's path. To be in your final chapter means your soul has traveled through countless seasons, moving beyond old patterns, dissolving the grip of the separate self, and breaking free from illusion. It means you are drawing near to the great liberation, where suffering dissolves and a deep, lasting peace is found. These signals, from a quiet release of materialism to a readiness to let go of this very life, are not accidental. They are the Spirit's way of telling you that its lessons are complete, and it is preparing to move beyond the great cycle of becoming. The more you honor these shifts, the more you align with your truest nature, which is pure awareness, boundless compassion, and unconditional love. This final lifetime is a sacred gift. It is an invitation to cultivate deep peace, to expand your compassion, and to awaken completely into the here and now. The journey may hold its challenges, but it is also the most meaningful, as it leads to freedom from all struggle. If you recognize these signals in your own life, treasure them. Listen to your soul's deep wisdom. Walk with gentleness and with confidence toward your own awakening. The path is clear, and your great liberation is near.